Pankration was an ancient Greek sport that combined boxing, wrestling, and other fighting arts. Combatants fought in the nude and were covered in oil all over their bodies. Biting and gouging of the eyes, nose, or mouth with fingers were the only prohibited moves. Anything else was allowable. Very often, the fighters got nicknames according to their preferred submission moves. One pancratiast earned the name Fingertips from his habit of breaking his adversary's fingers to start the match. Each bout would end by submission or death. Now, I don't know about you, but I think a film where Mr. Eastwood and Mr. James square off to the death in the nude and slathered in oil is exactly what we need right now. We watch $1 Million Baby, and here comes the boom.
Ah, the French champagne.
Can you tell me which members of the Reservoir Dogs you two are currently dressed as?
I'm Mr. Pink.
Sis Blue.
So Miranda hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs.
Secret Nazis.
Yeah.
Secret Nazis.
Classic.
Classic Spielberg.
Classic Spielberg.
He needs to kill 94 different 65-year-old men over 2.5 years because those men's children are all identical clones of Adolf Hitler.
There's like a bunch of other shit that happens in Driven.
Is there?
Shake it. Shake it.
The schlocky movie from this week may be the schlockiest film we've ever seen on this podcast.
The Citizen Kane of the week is... Well,
Finally, an intro that I can work with, Sean. Thank you.
Finally, something that people can relate to.
Wait, shit, 3 episodes ago, you were like, that was the best intro I've ever heard.
But, you know, thank you, Sean. A little history lesson this week, something that I didn't know, something that I hope I'll forget. So thank you. And the perfect intro to this week's movies. Movies about overcoming physical triumph, exertion, combat, right? So without any further ado, I'll just introduce us right away this week and say welcome to Citizen Kane Versus, where we compare a movie that is considered to be more of a classic versus a movie that's more on the schlocky side, and we ask ourselves honestly, which is better? My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined by my two friends, a one.
Sean Jacqueline.
And the other,
Daniel Benoit.
wow,
I'm doing my best
always-
Clint Eastwood. I'm doing my and incidentally also Morgan Freeman in Here Comes in $1 Million Baby.
It's coming through, and we're joined this week, this episode, by I'm guessing someone we found on Chat Roulette, but has become a quick friend, Mr. Andrew Merrigan. Hey, Andrew.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Should I say, thanks for having me? I challenged Motor City Cobra, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Yeah, sorry, that's a great Canadian actor right there.
You went to the Jay
Baruchel
Baruchel School of Acting.
Props to him, you know.
Props to Jay in this movie. And
This would have been
mean
an
that-
early breakthrough role for him.
Yeah,
I think it was.
It really was.
And that's a great impression. They really missed out on not casting you.
Hey, I was available. I just felt like my representation was just, lacking. So,
They had to get one of the
hopefully
noted.
Jay will see this and see how lucky he was.
Oh, I think so. And as a fan, Jay is always telling us how appreciative he is that we haven't taken more roles from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll see. He's always tweeting at us.
Yeah.
He's a big friend of the pod. So let's introduce our audience now to these two movies. Dan, would you care to take it away with a couple summaries for these two heavyweight contenders?
Yeah, but you forgot our call to action, man. We talked about this earlier.
We did talk about this. It's new. I realize we've got to say it now. So if you are listening,
Because you bastards aren't listening all the way to the end.
Yeah, because people don't listen to the end. So we'll say it sooner now that if you have listened to even 5 minutes of this podcast, thank you so much. Please do subscribe, hit those buttons, leave a comment, rate and review. Citizen Kane Versus on Twitter, Citizen Kane Versus Citizen Kane Versus Podcast on Instagram, Citizen Kane Versus VS on YouTube. We're all over the place. Check us out. Leave the comments. Hit the buttons. It means so much. Thank you, everyone. And now, without any further ado, we get those sweet, sweet, sweet summaries.
In the blue corner, representing the classics, an old trainer that overcomes his disdain for female athletes to train the Mike Tyson of women's boxing, only to have to literally decide if she lives or dies. Coming in at 132 minutes, starring Clint Eastwood and Hilary Swank, $1 Million Baby.
Makusha, 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 Makusha. What the hell does it mean?
And in the red corner, representing the schlock, a shitty teacher and all-around human being that suddenly and inexplicably grows a heart and enters the world of professional cage fighting in order to save a co-worker's job. Coming in at 105 minutes, starring Kevin James and Selma Hayek, Here Comes the Boom.
Not chanting yeah, those are them. And I want to say something right off the bat about these two, which is that, Andrew, you may have noticed as we introduce these movies, it's often the case that we introduce the classic first and then the schlock.
Yeah.
And often I end up watching them in that order as well.
Yeah.
And this week, I decided I felt it felt right. I switched it, and I was like, I'm gonna make the schlock the precedent, and I'm gonna base it off of, and then base $1 Million Baby off of that. And I think that really altered my viewing experience for these movies.
I was gonna say I did it the other way.
Yeah.
I knew just how sad $1 Million Baby.
So
I had to get out of that mindset to talk to you guys, because like it's a movie theater. It's a movie theater movie, like a classic movie theater movie, because you need to be in the dark for that movie. And I don't mean that as in like Men Can't Cry. I mean it as in like I don't want anyone to see me ugly crying, because that's what I do in that movie.
Aw.
yeah, I mean, I just finished it like 30 minutes ago. Sorry. Yeah, Sean.
I was going to say, in however many episodes of this that we've done, I have never been so close, like on the line with the two movies after seeing both of them. I've never been like, I could go either way as much as I am right now.
Yeah, because
I agree.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there, but talking about like it's more enjoyable, right? Like that is the premise here that we're talking about, right? And yeah, it's toss up.
But like my experience, and this won't give too much away, like I'm gonna have again, Sean, I agree, I feel very like confounded as what I'm gonna say in these conversations, but like I can imagine if I watched $1 Million Baby first and then watched Here Comes the Boom, it'd be like, oh, like a really serious movie, and then in comparison I'd be like, oh, and then a Looney Tunes episode, like that's what my brain would do.
Pretty much.
Well, okay, so as someone who has never seen $1 Million Baby before and only knows like, oh, they won all the awards, and this movie is of a different era, and I'm not sure if I fully enjoy that era, if this is what's held up as like the cream of the crop of 2004, you know?
Agree. Because I did the opposite, and let me tell you, coming from Here Comes the Boom to $1 Million Baby, it's like, oh, a really playful, like silly movie that just wants to have a bit of a chuckle at itself, and all over, and then $1 Million Baby is like, and what if you attended a funeral today?
Yes. Literally the whole thing.
And what if at that funeral they have carbon monoxide leaks and everyone at the funeral dies?
Yeah.
And then the coroner trips over the bodies because there are so many, and he cracks his neck on a stool. And he's paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah.
And then the priest commits.
And that's the midway point of the movie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's halfway through the movie.
The Citizen Kane of the week is